Okay, get ready for this. Imagine a single, elegant rule that could connect everything. And I mean everything. The neurons firing in your brain, the very fabric of spacetime, and even the deepest, most unsolvable problems in mathematics. It sounds like something straight out of science fiction, right? Well, it's actually a real scientific proposal. It's called the Chronoflux Framework, and today we're going to break it down.
So let's just start with a massive question. What if the universe isn't nearly as complicated as we think it is? What if the rules that govern a living brain, a quantum particle, and a complex mathematical proof, what if they aren't separate laws at all? What if they're just different sides of the same coin? That's the incredibly powerful idea we're diving into.
And this is it. The Chronoflux Framework, which comes from researcher Roy D. Herbert. The central claim here, laid out in his research, is that one single continuity law is the engine behind all complex or emergent phenomena. Now, this isn't just another theory. It's being presented as the first genuinely unified framework for all of science. That's a huge claim, right? So let's see how it supposedly works. To really get our heads around this, here's our plan. We're going to start with the foundation of this single law. Then we'll use a really cool analogy, the river of time, to see how it actually works. From there, we'll take a tour of reality to see its pretty stunning applications, unpack the unifying principle that ties it all together, and wrap up with a question that really gets to the heart of what science is all about. All right, so let's start at the very foundation. The whole framework is built on this one powerful idea. Maybe you don't need a different rulebook for every single part of the universe. You know, the real beauty of this framework is its radical simplicity. It argues that from one single foundational principle, all the incredible, mind-boggling complexity we see around us just emerges naturally. You can almost think of it as an attempt to find the ultimate source count for reality itself. So how do we even begin to grasp this principle? Well, the framework gives us a fantastic analogy. For a minute, let's forget all the complex equations and just picture a river. And this right here, this is the engine of the entire theory, the continuity law. Now, don't get hung up on the symbols in the equation. What it's saying is actually beautifully simple. It says there's this fundamental quantity, a temporal flow, that is always, always conserved. It's a bit like energy, you know? You can't just create it or destroy it. You can only move it around, concentrate it, or spread it out. The river of time analogy makes this crystal clear. Just imagine this temporal flow is a river. Now, the total amount of water in that river never ever changes. That's the conservation law. But as this river flows, it carves out totally different landscapes. When it carves a deep canyon, maybe that's the laws of physics. When it flows gently and nourishes a lush forest, that's biology. They look completely different, but they're both being shaped by the exact same river. Okay, so the big question is, does this elegant idea actually hold up in the real world? Let's put it to the test. We're going to take a quick tour through the different domains the Chronoflux framework claims to unify. First up, let's talk about biology. I mean, it's arguably the most complex system we know of. So how could one simple conservation law possibly explain the intricate dance of life happening inside a brain? Well, the framework's answer is pretty profound. It says that the electrical patterns that guide a growing embryo and the little quantum flickers inside our neurons, they aren't separate phenomena. They're just different eddies and currents in that one single river of time as it flows through the landscape of living tissue. All right, let's jump from the life sciences all the way to the cutting edge of material science and quantum physics. Let's talk about a wild material called graphene. Now, this is a perfect example of the framework's whole approach. See, in the super strange quantum world of graphene, electrons can start acting like a weird exotic fluid. The standard view, it needs a special set of rules to explain it. But Chronoflux basically says, hold on, this isn't some special case. It argues this strange fluid is just what the river of time looks like when it flows through the unique landscape of graphene. It's the same law, just a new context. And this is where the framework makes its most audacious claim of all. It actually steps out of the physical world entirely and into the purely abstract realm of mathematics. These are the Millennium Prize problems. We're talking about some of the deepest, hardest, most legendary puzzles in all of math. The framework's papers claim to offer a unified way to attack all of them. The idea is that these problems, which seem totally unrelated, are really just different mathematical shadows being cast by the same underlying temporal dynamics. So solving them isn't about solving 7 different problems, it's about understanding the single thing that's casting all the shadows.
So how? I mean, how on earth can one simple law possibly connect something like quantum physics to the P versus NP problem? Let's pull back the curtain and look at the actual mechanism the framework proposes.
Okay, so here's how it all connects, step by step. First, you start with our conserved river of time. The movement of that river creates ripples and pressure, something physicists would call a stress tensor. And that's what shapes the fabric of spacetime. And here is the absolute key. Biology, physics, and math, they're just different ways of looking at this one system. They're like different projections, like looking at a 3D object's shadow on different walls. And what's really crucial is this all supposedly happens in our normal four-dimensional universe. No extra dimensions, no weird stuff needed.
This all brings us to the big picture, this centuries-long quest in science to find a single theory that explains, well, everything.
What the Chronoflux Framework offers is this profoundly elegant vision. It's a universe where all the staggering complexity we see, from life itself to the stars in the sky, just emerges from one simple, unbroken, and conserved flow. And that really leaves us with one final, huge question to chew on. Is a single, unified theory of everything the ultimate destination for science? Is that the final goal? Or is the search for that one simple answer a beautiful, but maybe unattainable dream in a universe that's just fundamentally complex? The Chronoflux framework has its answer, but for the rest of us, the quest continues.